Let's dive into making a zoom transition. Alright, so let's grab a couple of clips. So here, I already picked out a couple of spots that I was going to use. And then I have this clip as well. The idea I had with these two clips is this over here could somewhat make it look like this mountain, because there's a field and a mountain. So there's a mountain and a field. So I'm going to try to blend those two together. We'll see how that works. This particular zoom can also be used with two very different shots. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to make a little file just like that, if you can see here, I have 10F, which is for frames, and then zoom transition settings. So you'll just be able to have your clips here, go in your timeline, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I was doing that with my left and right keys on my keyboard. Come over, come here, cut, take this side, bring it down, take this, come over to this side, cut here. Let me zoom in so you can actually see this. Going to cut here, so now this is cut on both sides. And then I have these two clips. Gonna turn it into a Fusion clip, then I can come over into Fusion. And if I was actually on the right one, so here on this, and then grab that settings file, and then just drop it in here. Then you'll be able to just connect this here. And let me zoom in so I can see these. We don't need this merge. And then just take one, go to 1, 2, to 2, and then you could go right back in the editing, and if I go through here, it would be a little zoom transition. So let's try to play that back. Once it caches, all right, let's play that full screen, and that's kind of the idea here. So let's get into actually creating this, and let's back up everything again. We'll just delete all of this and start from scratch. So you can make your own file, understand it, and then also be able to modify it for your needs. So we'll bring in one clip here and then grab our other clip. And then we're just gonna do 10 frames here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Gonna cut it. Bring this one up. Since I had snapping, it would go right to the end there. And take my mouse cursor, snap to this end, cut here. Just grab this side, bring it down, highlight both of these, turn it into a Fusion clip so I can work on them together. Then go over into Fusion. Once in Fusion, I'm gonna do a quick save, click on the Fusion clip down here. And then we will get rid of the things that we don't need to see right now. So I'll bring this guy over. I'm gonna leave this merge here, and I'll show you why here in a second. So our first node, we'll play it over here on the left. Down here, you can see which side you're playing it in. So this is gonna be player 1, this is player 2. It's monitor 1 and monitor 2. So you would just hit number 1 for if you want it to view over here, and then number 2 if you want it to view over here. This is the first shot that's in our timeline. So that's the one that I want to work with first, and then I'm going to work with the other one from there. So let me go back and get back to my Fusion clip. Okay, we'll get rid of the clips. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this merge and bring the blend to like half so I can see both of them. It makes it a little easier when I'm lining things up, because if I just have it snap from one to the other and there's this big of a difference in horizon, it's going to be pretty noticeable. But overall, it's only 10 frames, so it could go pretty quick, so you don't have to be completely accurate. It's so quick that the human eye wouldn't catch a lot of the problems within a shot unless they went frame by frame. So our first node here, I'm going to click on here so it's highlighted, and we're gonna hit Shift Space Bar, and I'm gonna put in transform. So I get my transform node here. All right, so this transform is going to be what I manipulate the shot with. So I can change the size of it, and I can move around the position if I needed to. These are going to be the things that we're going to be keyframing. All right, right now our playhead is at 0. So I'm going to keyframe the size and keyframe the position. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is zoom out on this player over here. And I'm going to go to frame 5. And the idea here is that I want to zoom in to get that zoom effect. But I also want to use that little portion that's over here. So I zoomed in, and now I'm going to just move it over. And I'm not zoomed in far enough. So because it's at the end here, doesn't mean that that's the end of it. We can click here and then type in something. So I can type in 15. Now this it'll change the maximums here. And you can just put in whatever value that you want here, and it'll just increase the size of this. All right, so let's go back down to 15. Okay, the portion that I want to use is over here. So I'll move this down a bit more. So it's like right in there. And let's go all the way up to 17. Let's see how that is. And with your work, you know, you could do whatever you want and see what works. Where it gets zoomed into could be different for every shot, or you could just zoom straight in right in the middle and not really worry about where it zooms to. And that would probably work as well, just because it's only 10 frames. All right, so that looks pretty good there. Now, the shot that's behind, I'm going to also do a transform on here. And now I want to start zoomed in a little bit and zoom out, just so that there's a little bit of motion, because what we're going to be adding is motion blur to add the visual of speed. For the other way around, as we did here, this is 17. We don't want to get nearly that far. Because it's gonna get really like snappy. Everything's gonna be moving way too quick. So on the zoom out here, I'm gonna do it a little slower. So I'm going to not do it that much. I might only go, let's say, that much. And then frame 9, I'm going to go back to default, but I didn't even make that a keyframe. So let's make that a keyframe first. Come to 9, and this little button right here will take it back to whatever the default value is. So clicking that, it'll go back to the default value. So now that I have that, what I need to do now is this merge it'll blend from one to the other, but I want to show you another tool that you can also use. So the other one that you can do is dissolve. And dissolve node is kind of interesting, because with the merge node, you always had the background as the background, and whatever you wanted on the foreground to be the foreground. Now, right now, because both of these are covering the whole frame, it just looks like you're going from one to the other. If you had a couple of nodes and they weren't filling up the whole frame, when you would do this blend, it would reduce the opacity in whatever the foreground is, because these controls affect the foreground. The cool thing with a dissolve node is you can choose the background to the foreground, and you can do different operations as well. So let's just connect this up quick. And then we'll delete this. So what I could do is frame 4, let's come back over. Okay, so right now it's on foreground because this is the foreground side. So we could do that for frame 5, and then frame 4, we could go to the background node. So the idea here is that it would go zoom in and then snap to the other one and zoom out. All right, let's take a look at this quick. So currently playing this, it just looks super snappy because there's nothing before and there's nothing after. So let's go over into the edit tab so we can see the rest of the timeline here. So I'm just gonna get rid of some of this and then some of this on this side because we don't need this for what we're doing here. So far it doesn't look all that bad. Let me put this on loop. Turn the loop on. So far it doesn't look all that bad, but we need to add a couple more elements to tie these together and make it seem a bit more fluid. All right, coming back over to the Fusion tab, because this node, the transform node, is the node that did the motion, I'm going to add motion blur onto here. So just clicking this little guy, clicking on motion blur. The quality, the higher it goes, the more it's going to take to render. So it's just something to be weary of, but the better quality it looks. And working with shots like this, I kind of want to use better quality. Okay, so now let's take a look at them with the whole timeline here. All right, that's looking a little bit better. I want to add in a little bit more in here just to make it look a little bit better. So the next thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add in lens distortion. So here's lens distortion. And what I want to do is I want to distort it when all of the zooming's happening. So I'm just going to start it on frame 1. And there's a lot of settings in here, but I'm just going to leave everything the way it is and then just work with the distortion itself. So we're going to bring it up. Let's see what 0.5 looks like. Add a keyframe there. Or actually, no. We want nothing here. And then frame 5 is when it's all, yeah, let's do, actually frame 4 is when they're going really fast. So let's get that distorted. And then let's do frame 8 back to normal. All right, let's take a look and see how it's looking now. There's something in here. That right there is very bright, and that's kind of not helping sell this. So we need to do a little bit of modification to this movement here. So I'm just going to come in here into my dissolve and then just turn this down to halfway so I can see what's going on again. And let's see where I can move this point to make this look a bit better. So the next thing is completely up to you if you want to add it in. It's Chromatic Aberration. And so let me show you here. If I turn this up, you can see around the edges that effect that's being added there. So let's add that here, and then say frame 8, we'll take it off. Then frame 1, we'll take it off as well. That's just something a little extra to add in there. Let's take a look and see how this whole thing's looking so far. All right, that's not so bad. Now, let's set this up so we can use it in a different project. So I want to use this exact transition. So I'm just going to take everything that I've made, which is the transforms, the dissolve, the lens distortion, and the chromatic aberration. I didn't do anything with this, or these, the blue ones I didn't do anything with. So I'm just going to take these here. I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to go to settings, save as, and then you just pick your location, and I'll just save it over mine. I put 10F just so I know it's 10 frames, because if I'm working in a project that is 30 frames or 60 frames or 24 frames, the length of my transition is going to vary. Gonna save this. It already exists, cool. I'm just gonna save another one. And now I'm going to just add some other shots into my project quick. All right, let's get a new timeline going here. So my new timeline, I'm going to take this shot here. Actually, let's start it here. And we'll just take that little bit. And then down here, I have on the ground of that barn. It's at a weird angle. but let's just roll with it. So we'll just take these 2 shots. Actually, I don't want the audio, so I'll take it just like that. And now I can go in to just take 10 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Gonna cut there, bring this one up, cut here. Oops. Take this one, drop it down. Take these 2. Turn into a Fusion clip. Now come over into Fusion. Let me open that folder up that I had, that I just created my transition in. Okay, here's my folder. Take my 10 frame zoom transition, drop that right there, take this out of here, bring this over. And because I have these transform 1 and transform 2, it's easy to remember which one goes where. So this is my first one, so that's the first one that gets edited, then this one. And then coming out, we're gonna go right into our media out. And if you want to, you can just delete that. And it's done, it's that simple. Now I can just play this here. And if you can tell, we currently are zooming to the wrong thing. So I'm gonna come back in, come over to my Fusion tab, our first transition. Frame 5 is where it ends. I'm just gonna bring this back just a little bit. We have to remember that this is a keyframe, so we'll have to fix that. But at least I can move this shot around. I'm going to play this dissolve so I don't have to worry about rendering these 2, just to make this a little easier for me to move around and not have to render out all that stuff. Okay, so right here is our here's our farmhouse or barn. So there's the one we're gonna be transitioning to, and this big one here, and here's the house, is where we're going. So now that I have that, I just need to make sure for keyframe 5, I turn this back. And now we can come back over. I'm gonna save quick and then just watch this and see how this looks. All right. So, boom, and it zooms in. Now, if you felt like the chromatic aberration was too much, you can go back and adjust it. That's the really cool thing. So you can just come into here and you know that this is where you can see all that. You can bring this down a little bit if you think that that's too much. Maybe it was all right for you. Or you can get rid of it completely. You could just delete it and get rid of it if you didn't like it. Let's say I didn't like it for this one. Save it. And there you go. Having those settings files created, you can then go in and change it up to, meet the needs of that particular transition. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think about this one. If you have any suggestions for me to do in the future, let me know down there as well. Again, my name's JR, and thanks for watching.